Well, listen. Do you want to do something cool right now?
Yeah.
Why don't you grab me your top sales guy on the floor and let me test him on the phone? Is that guy behind you ready before we end the show?
Yes, he's ready.
All right, bring him in. What's up, my brother?
What's up, kiddo?
How's it going? All right, welcome to Acez Academy here, Shotcast. We are here with Scott Morse. Is that how you pronounce it, Morse?
Yes, you got it, brother.
All right, beautiful, man. Scott is a founder and CEO of Leads 2 Deals. He is a sales guru. You see him in a sales background right now. You're in Colombia, right?
Yeah, Colombia, South America. Got about 180 some reps behind us right now, just pounding on the phones.
All right, man. This guy's always on fire. Every single time I talk to you, you're on fire, which I super appreciate. Why don't you explain to the audience who you are, where you come from, how you ended up in Colombia and this huge sales office behind you?
Yeah, and so I want to keep the focus exactly what it is that you're so passionate about, man. That's the reason why I was attracted to you and everything that you teach and do, because sales is a gateway drug to a better life. And so this little snapshot that you see behind me is my fronter side of my sales operation. I have closers in Orlando, Florida. That's where like the actual other side, you know, we generate the leads here and then we convert them there and then I sell them out to other people as well too. But it all started because one day I was installing security alarms at a sales center one day, many moons ago. And I just asked the dude, I said, dude, how's all these kids have these Mercedes and these BMWs outside? Like I'm here, I'm dirty. I got sheetrock and stuff all over my hands. And they were like, we sell timeshare. I said, what the is timeshare? They told me that, son. I literally, the next day I was back in that sales office. I quit my job that day. I went in there and that just started a multi-decade journey of mastering the art of communication or pursuing the mastering of the art of communication and building a sales ecosystem that's now continents, you know, wide.
Beautiful. And you started off selling security systems and you went on to timeshares.
No, I started off installing security systems. I didn't even know I was installing them and I was showing them how to use it. And I was at a timeshare resort and like, I just kept on looking around like, you know, how are these kids my age and looking so nice? Like I didn't even own a tie. You know, I was a high school kid. I finished high school, but I just went right into blue collar labor. And man, I was just so enthralled by the fact that there was kids out there getting real money. At least to me at that stage, it was really real money.
That's awesome. And then the first thing you sold was timeshares?
First thing I sold was timeshares, man. And
vacation style timeshares?
Yeah, exactly right. Those things where like somebody says, hey, come to our 90-minute presentation. So this was Williamsburg, Virginia, and you'd have all these senior citizens and they come check out the resort and you would just meet a random stranger and you would have like, we promised 90 minutes, but it was always like a 3 to 4 hour pitch. But you would have like 3 to 4 hours to bring down sales resistance. It couldn't be any higher because they knew that they was getting hustled to get in there and then bring up sales acceptance and all the things from the body language to a little bit of NLP that they taught us to just being able to build massive rapport and create value to sell air is ultimately the tactics that they taught me then that I've been able to kind of manufacture and build from decades later.
Well, I have to ask you, because we're on the topic of timeshares. I've had people, so I've dealt with this twofold. First, when I talk to clients in refinancing, they're always bitching about their timeshares. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people say they regret them. A lot of people say that it wasn't sold properly. I had my brother-in-law who bought one in Mexico and it was a complete scam. How do you differentiate timeshares that are scams to not scams? How did you sell them? How do you know which presentations are legit or not for people listening?
Let me answer that with a brief story. When I first started out, I had a TO, and for those in the sales, a TO, it's like your turnover guy. And I was kind of new and a customer didn't buy. And so you always had to bring a TO in after you got X amount of no's on the table pitch. And one day he came over and he was just like, hey, you know what I'm going to do for you guys? I really love Scott's enthusiasm. Here, I'm going to give you unlimited bonus weeks or something like that. And I was shocked. I literally, my jaw hit the table. I just couldn't believe what was happening. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. You guys just got the best deal I've ever seen. The next day I walk into the office. He was like, kid, yesterday, that was perfect. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, the way you acted at the table, do that every day. I said, well, can you give that? He's like, we give that away to everybody. You didn't know? And so like, I was like, oh shit, this whole thing's one big Hollywood production. I don't think there's actually a good, I think there's a per se a good timeshare out there. But from the sales perspective, I realized that everything is just a production. It's a show. But like a lot of products that exist, they're good if they force you to actually do something with it. And so what I always found is I think the best people for a timeshare are the people who aren't committed enough to going on a vacation unless they obligate themselves to do it. Yeah. Other than that, not really it. I got in that for about 2 years. And then ultimately 12 years later, I opened one of the nation's largest timeshare cancellation companies. Because once I understood the tactics that they were doing, then I opened a monster multi-million 8-figure timeshare cancellation company in South Florida. And that was the business venture I was doing for 7 years prior to this business venture.
Well, I love that you say that because, well, there's two great things about this. Number one is I think one of the best things to sell is emotional sales. I think a timeshare connected to vacation, time off, family, personal time is one of the strongest sales you could have because that's what everybody needs in their life. And I love those emotional sales. When I train mortgage companies and anybody in finances, traveling's a hot topic, man. People want to travel. People want to get out. That's something that you could talk to people on and present based off those emotions. So did you learn a lot about emotional selling through the timeshares?
100% emotional. You know, people buy with the emotion, deals stick with logic. It's the only way that you can justify telling somebody to spend $20,000 up front plus $1,000 a year in maintenance fees and not even really be guaranteed much. And so the whole thing was purely emotion. And it was really good backwards innuendo where like you would do a hard takeaway in the beginning with somebody and be like, hey, listen, you know, I don't know everybody who's going to purchase. Like I can't look at a couple and say, hey, they're definitely going to sign up with us. All I know is the couples that really love each other, the couples that really have a commitment to making sure that they renew that spark. Those are the ones that sign up. And so you would just paint these pictures of these things that these customers wanted to be, and they would look at their spouse and be like, oh, well, we need marriage insurance too, just like that other couple. And so it was a purely third-party emotional play throughout the entire thing, sprinkled in with very little financial logic.
Got it. So it was mostly not really, because I say this all the time, it's not about selling the product or service, it's about what the product or service does for somebody in their life. So it's really about selling the web around your product and everything that comes with it. What are the things that come with a timeshare? Well, it's relationship, it's spending time with your loved ones. Yep. It's that free time that you need. And you connected it. Now, did you have like a certain way was it a phone call or face-to-face?
Those were face-to-face. So before I ever got into the real estate sector, which is behind us now, this is all like distressed home sellers. But then the timeshare was all face-to-face at that stage. And that's what I cut my teeth on, is just going in there and learning, because like you said, they buy kind of what's surrounding the product. But when you're face-to-face, the primary thing they buy is you. Like they have to trust me. I have to be either their grandson, their nephew, their son, they're a counselor, whoever it may be, because at that time I was a lot younger than my average avatar client. But yeah, man, I learned all of it face to face and then just kept on improving those skills and ultimately brought that to a phone campaign.
Nice, man. And then from there, where'd you go? After you sold the reverse of that, which is also good because I always say you have to flip your sale, right? You're selling one thing, then you sold the opposite of that thing because you truly understood both sides of it, which is a true sales professional. So how was that? Selling the opposite. You were selling the dream to get into a timeshare. Now you're selling people to get out of the timeshare. How was that transition?
It was the most rewarding thing that I had done. And what I was able to do very quickly is get enough people out more than I had gotten into it. Like I wanted to right that wrong. Like I wanted to really like partner with the right attorneys, right that wrong. And then we got like big, like Rush Limbaugh advertising, all the right-wing radios, TV. Our monthly budget in PPC was about $400K, a little north of $400K. So like we're running a major shop in South Florida, so much so to the point where like we have politicians coming to the office, and we hit a certain vector ultimately to be sued by two multi-billion-dollar, what we used to be partners with, then we're competitors. So it was like everything that you would expect from a kid who just started sales and started an office out of his home bedroom to escalate and do those types of things. So really the timeshare industry occupied about 17 years of my life. Once that started facing so much regulatory pressure, headwind, I guess, that's when I found out about the REI space. And I'd always been I'd always deployed capital to buddies who were in the REI space, either helping with self-storage facilities or little portfolios. And then once I got out, I really started wrapping my head around some of the needs in the REI space. And that's where this company, which is called Lama Su, this Lamasu company here was born from. And that happened about 4 years ago is when I started this.
4 years, but you said in between you went into real estate, right?
Well, this is my campaign for real estate. So like as I had my exit company, I was always investing in properties, but it was just because my boy would be like, hey, dude, let me borrow this amount of money. I'll pay you this back. You'll get equity in this deal. So like I was real estate adjacent, but I still couldn't tell you what a cap rate was to save my life. Once that winded down, I was like, okay, so what are these like wholesaler guys doing again? And so once I understood that business model, I felt it was highly disruptible. I felt that it was highly fragmented. I felt that like everybody were, not everybody, the large portion of people were order takers and not sales makers. And that's what led me down that pathway to ultimately create this for the REI space.
Yeah, which is more like phone sales now. But before that, what's your biggest tips for people on face-to-face sales? Because you were doing face-to-face for years in the timeshares. What are your like 3 biggest pointers face-to-face sales?
I think it's going to go, you could go so many more, but I'll just rattle off the first one. And that one of the things that I learned is that we would have a script and it would be like, okay, meet and greet. And then it would be like discovery and all this other stuff. But the most important part was actually step one, which was like the warm up. Those steps that you take before you actually go meet your customer, before you knock that door, that mindset, whatever it is that you're doing when you've envisioned for your day, to make sure that like, hey, I am worthy of this next sale. I am helping this next customer. And you're looking in that mirror and you're dressed tight and you look right and you smell right and you act right. All those things before you go out there and you shake somebody's hand with conviction matter more almost than the execution of your presentation, because I want them to know that I have, you call it divine intervention or not, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, but I've been put in front of them for a reason. And if I believe in my product, I'm going to convey that belief to them, but it starts before I even meet them.
Man, for all the salespeople listening, I just want you to pay attention to Scott's enthusiasm, his energy. I mean, the hype is real. And when you say like that's the most important thing, I don't know if you listen to my stuff or you read my books. That's all I talk about is the preparation is more important than the actual thing itself. You know, the morning rituals, the priming your mind, the goals, the affirmations, the visualization, the dressing good, feeling good, smelling good, going early, having a clear mind. I think that's the most important thing. And I preach that all the time because a lot of people will wing things and go last second on things and then they won't get the results they want. But you're already mentally prepared to get the deals before the deals even come. And people want to talk to somebody like that, right? They want to talk to someone that's been preparing to talk to them.
I've never met a top tier salesperson who doesn't believe in the transference of energy in multiple capacities. And so for me, it's just that conviction before I go into that presentation. And also, listen, there's logic in it. I know that I'll be successful with more no's than yeses. I haven't personally found a career where I have more yeses than no's, but I'm a wealthy guy by having more no's than yeses and still being successful with what it is at my craft. And so I think for me, it's just that mindset going into it that I'm going to tackle some dummies and I'm going to score some touchdowns, but everybody's going to get treated the exact same. I'm not cutting a corner for anybody, not for any part of my process. Am I changing anything, no matter what that customer says to me?
Factory line process. Everybody goes down, the box drops down, goes down the same exact lines, regardless of who it is, what day it is, what time it is, right?
Preach.
I love that, man. All right, let's go on to the lead space. So how'd you get into the lead space, real estate? Because I want to get into the leads because a lot of the companies I work with are going to listen to this, buy leads. So we're going to talk.
Yeah. So I think all great products come from great needs. And then second to that, it's all great companies solve great problems. And so all this was born of a necessity out of my own greed, because I started to try to outsource the front end of my operation. And I tried to do it domestically in Orlando. And me personally, I'm not saying it can't be done, but I couldn't figure out a way to pay a 19-year-old kid in Orlando who's likely a junkie or had some really catastrophic issues going on in his life, $18 an hour to get my cost per lead where I need it, but also have the right mindset. And so then I said, okay, well, let me go ahead. I can keep my closers here because the ROI on the closer activity is significant. In regards to outsourcing, I tried the Philippines. That was terrible. Like one time I heard a chicken in the background. I was like, you'll never be my first impression. Then I tried Egypt and that kind of sucked. But then I literally in a random chat group and I saw somebody talking about his call center in Colombia, South America. And so I just followed up on that lead. I ended up flying down, meeting him. I did great with him for like 4 or 5 months, but he didn't have the skill set experience to scale. So I just told my business partner, I was like, dude, I'll move to Colombia for 4 months. Watch out. Don't worry. I'll go set up 8-10 cubicles. And I set up 8-10 cubicles. And then my boy was like, yo, how you guys being so successful? And then this other guy said, and then before you know it, everybody needed the same problem solved as I solved, which is high quality leads, highly motivated people and no junk in my CRM.
You found all these people behind you inside Colombia?
Yeah. We're right here in a place called Pareda, South America. It's a city. I mean, Pareda, Colombia, inside of South America, obviously. We're one city away from Medellin, which is a really popular spot for a lot of your listeners, particularly the male audience. And yeah, that's it, man. I've created a Google-like environment, as anybody who watches the video, you can kind of see it's a
That's what I was going to say, man. It's pretty impressive to look behind you and look like it's a company in downtown Detroit here. You know, it looks like some of the big companies that I train. I'm talking about Fortune 500 companies. I see the wheel for the spinning and the culture, to win some things. I see everybody dialing and working behind you. There's no wasting time going on. I mean, this looks like better than most of the offices I see here in the States. How did you build that? How did you bring, or are just people more hungrier in Colombia, maybe because there's not as much opportunity as there is here? Some people say that people here get a little lazy because there's endless opportunities. Everyone always hiring, especially for sales.
All things are true at the same time with what you just said, but I have conviction that I could not have built this remotely. So I think the first thing is somebody with and I say this as humble as possible, somebody with my skill set and experience to come down here and be willing to create this type of work environment, because there's boiler rooms and scumbag rooms all around here in town. But I created a place that, just like it was in the United States, I'm well aware for most of these guys and gals, this is the safest place that they have. This is the best. Dude, we got arcades, we got foosball, ping pong. This is a steel sharpened steel environment. This is an accountability environment. But I don't think I could have created this sales culture, which I consider to be like one of my gifts from above, is really good sales culture. I don't think I could have done that remotely. I was blessed with their work ethic and desire to grow their life, unlike that you may find in the States. So it's definitely dialed up 3 or 4 notches than it is in the States under America's current culture.
I mean, how was the thought process, and like how much thinking went behind making a move to Colombia, leaving your whole life behind in the States? Because that's a big risk and people need to hear that. And it sounds like you just thought about it and you took it. I mean, was there any thinking involved? Do I really want to move to Colombia for 4 months? What did you leave behind? What kind of things and adversity did you have to face while building this out? Did you just go there and things just worked out magically? Because that's how you're making it seem. Or was there any bumps down the road while doing this? Because people need to hear the tough parts of your journey as well. If there are any tough parts, or if not, you're a lucky son of a gun and we should hit the casino together tonight.
No, everything's tough, man. It's a lot of pressures being the CEO, building up. You got so many faces to feed and people's livelihood depends on it. And there's a lot on that side. In regards to the initial launch, what I learned right out of the gates is not to be the average gringo. All I had to do was just be a human being. So every other white guy that comes into town, they pay people under the table with no benefits. It's a scumbag office. They're always trying to cut corners. They're paying a little bit as they can. So once I really understood what my competitors' hiring practices were and their hours, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll pay more. I'll give them a better office environment. I'll treat them like humans, and I'll invest into them to teach them that, hey, you can start as a fronter and become a closer. You can become a closer and then become your own real estate investor. And I hope that 10 to 15 to 40, I don't care, however number is, one day leave me and start building their own real estate portfolio in the United States because of the skills and concepts that they learned here. So because I'm not afraid to lose anybody and I'm willing to invest in them as much as I feel like they're investing back with me, that I think that I created a monster here that came from effort and not luck.
Yeah, and you took the risk and you thought outside the box and you were willing to move there and make it happen, which not a lot of people are willing to do. Now, I know we're great sales guys and we love talking sales, but it seems like you're now a leadership guy. You're a culture guy. You know how to build a good environment, right? What have you learned about leadership building this company up?
You don't know what you don't know. And so I'm constantly still trying to bridge that gap between where I need to be and where I'm at now. And I'm really, really humble in the fact that I still have so much to learn, so much to go. On the plane ride today, I'm reading a book called Crucial Conversations because I really want to help myself from a leadership, have more in-depth, thorough conversations with my guys. I have one of my junior leaders here today. The thing that I'm focusing with him on, just to give you a snapshot of the problems that we have, is that he's one of the best motivators I've ever seen. He's a great and inspiring human as a leader, but he's a terrible accountability partner. And so because he protects the people underneath of him, when shit rolls to him, he doesn't let it go downhill. And it started to create this thing where there's a level of mediocrity in his little department that's acceptable to his standards, but not mine. And so these types of things where you got to have those conversations, be aware of what's causing it, help him work on his accountability while letting his motivation skills still flourish. Just those types of things. It's like, hey, I want to be an excellent CEO where every single person who works here is like, dude, that was the best boss I ever had. period, end of story. They don't make him like that guy. I can't believe he retired and went back to the States.
Yeah, I would tell that guy that great leaders force discomfort. And if you're scared to force your people to be uncomfortable, they're never going to grow. So he's sheltering them like you shelter kids. And if you're always there feeding your kid, then the kid's never going to eat on their own, you know? So he has to get them uncomfortable, because the best coaches and leaders in the world, the Bill Belichick's, the Patrick Bet-Davids, these are accountability monsters, right? So that's one trait that he needs to become a great leader, and I'll talk to him about that. When I go to these shops that have offices similar to yours, there's a couple things I do for them, and I want to see if you're on the same frequency. One thing that I do for them is scorecards, right? So we build a scorecard for them that has amount of dials, talk time, amount of conversion, deals. It comes out 3 times a day like a report card. We see who's in red, who's in green. We're constantly pushing the effort and giving an award to the top scorer. Are you holding your people accountable to these types of metrics for effort and production?
Wildly, like we'll have a performance dashboard that's live right there. First place, second place, third place, 4th through 10th here that's live on the dashboard. There's a couple of color-coded monitors so everybody can see live on the sales floor. And then our major KPIs are very similar to what you're saying, which is for the sales guys, it's answers to leads. On my platform side, it's dials to answers. On the closer side, it's leads to sales, or sometimes leads to appointments if they go face-to-face. But all of these KPIs are dialed in by a team lead, and then a team lead himself has about 10 to 14 agents underneath of them. So they all do it. There's a morning huddle. Our morning meetings are straight out of Wolf of Wall Street. Every morning we're screaming, we're yelling. It's a vibe in the morning, man.
I love it.
Intense.
I love it, man. And where'd you learn all that from?
So I appreciate you asking the question. It's my favorite question to answer. You know, they say that you'll be the equivalent of your 5 closest friends, right? There's a lot of guys who were very similar to where I started my sales journey. Hopefully they're listening to this, guys and gals. And then I heard that you can tell exactly where you'll be 3 years from now based off the books you read and the people you associate with. And those 2 quotes really up, because I said, okay, I don't have 5 people around me that I want to be the average of when I started my sales career. Literally did not have 5 people that I wanted to be the average of. I knew obviously 5 people. So where I learned all this stuff was I said, okay, I didn't go to college, but I'm going to give myself a collegiate level investment in education by books. And literally, I just found my best friends, my 5 best friends, whether it was Zig Ziglar, whether it was Tom Hopkins, you know, I'm dating myself a little bit, whether it's Tony Robbins, whoever it may be. Dude, I read and devoured. My personal library at my house is something that I'm proud of. But that's how I learned it all, which was reading it and then executing to see what fit my style and personality.
So I'm guessing you guys do game films. You guys have traditions, awards, listening to call clips, contests, everything.
Yeah, we have an elite sign there. The elite agent gets that. We got a belt here. Every few minutes, you'll see me start to clap, or every 10, 15 minutes, if you see me clap, that's because somebody just sent the highest tiered lead that you can send, which is an under 70% ARV ask. And that's why it pops up on everybody's screen and everybody hollers. So like we got a bunch of things in here to keep the momentum going and share in the co-pressure of your colleague being successful. Because you don't want to be the only guy we're not clapping for.
Sorry, you're good on the leadership, and I want to make sure that you're about it. And it seems like you are about it. You're running a great culture. Keep up the great work, especially in Colombia. You're making me want to go there and use some of your guys. So you're definitely going to gain a customer here.
I'd love to have you come check us out, bro.
Now, you guys only do real estate leads for people that are what, selling, buying? What are you guys doing there? What do you guys call it?
Currently, man, you know, I'm a real big fan of going deep in the pool that I'm in. And so I saw an opportunity here. I've had a lot of side businesses brought to me like, dude, we'll crush it in solar. We'll crush it in mortgage. We'll crush it. And it's like, cool, I appreciate that. Let me just finish this machine to my satisfaction first, and then I'll go into the other side. But we're really poised to go into the refi side as soon as interest rates drop. I mean, like, dude, I have data on every consumer in the United States, every address, every house, credit scores. I got it all. So as soon as that starts to modify, I'll probably go into that. But for now, to answer your question more directly, everybody back here are investor lead generators. A lead that an investor would go buy a distressed house, a discounted house, an ugly casa, an ugly house is what these guys are out there fishing for.
Yeah, so they're calling the people that own these houses or these properties, and then they're selling those leads as interested people to the investor. That's exactly or are they brokering the deal on behalf of the investor?
So just like there used to be a TV show in the 80s or something, commercials like Hair Club for Men. He said, not only am I a client, or not only am I the owner, but I'm the biggest client. Same with me. So I'm also one of my investors. So one of these campaigns that we run for $35,000 a day is Central Florida, which is my campaign. So I have mine where we're live transferring directly to my closers. all the other markets throughout the nation that we're in. And we're in 65, 66 markets. All these other markets that we're in, we're literally just generating the lead, posted it directly to their CRM or live transferring, and the investor is calling them right up and they're like, hey, Mr. Jones, I just received your information from. We give them a little opening script, and they immediately just start going to their rapport building, a little bit of additional discovery, and then present an offer.
So the investor presents the offer and builds a relationship. Your guys are just literally dealing with getting them interested and transferring them over.
Exactly. Because I come from the school where like fronter closer model. So like we're the fronters, they're the closers. I have my guys dialed in and all the objections they'll receive as a fronter, and my closers have completely different objections and rebuttals. It's a completely separate sales cycle. This is, 14 to 17 minutes long, and this one could be 45 minutes to an hour. So it's just two separate entities here exclusively. I should say, is only fronting.
Fronting, which means just transferring.
Yeah, taking a cold outreach and getting into it interested, so they want to talk.
Getting them interested to sell to an investor.
Exactly right. Yes, sir.
And then how many investors do you work with? Do you work with a company of investors, individual investors?
65, 66 nationwide that we work with who just pay us. They're like, hey, man, here's X amount of dollars. I want to buy X amount of heads, the equivalent of heads dials, and this is what I need for leads. Here's kind of my buy box. And then we just go to war like hired assassins.
And what's the hottest? You said the hottest area is South Florida right now?
No, I'm in Central Florida just because that's where my residences are, and so that's where I built my closers out. The hottest, it just depends on what you would consider hot, I think.
Well, what are these investors doing? Are they like renovating the house and flipping it? Are they making them rentals? What are they doing with these houses?
So really good question. The investors, I'd say about of my 60 some clients, half of them are investors where they're actually obtaining the property and they're putting some lipstick on it, doing a full rehab, whatever their exit strategy is, and then listing it on the MLS. The other half are wholesalers, traditional wholesalers. Do you know what wholesalers are?
Yeah, they sell them in bundles.
Exactly. So a wholesaler does is just says, hey, dude, I'm going to do the sales cycle because the local investors in my area suck at sales. And so you'll have investors who are used to buying off the MLS, but then some guy will come to them and be like, hey, man, I just got Barbara Smith on this piece of paper to tell me that she'd sell her house to me for 85. I'll sell it to you for 100 while I'm in my 14-day inspection period. Do you want it? And then if the investor says, no, I don't want it, then he just calls up Barbara and says, hey, your property failed inspection. Boom. So this wholesaler business model is really interesting because they never come out of pocket. They never do a rehab. They hire guys like me to do their qualifying. They close the people, and then they mark up that piece of paper, never taking ownership, but they assign their rights to that purchase ability to somebody else, and then they make a spread. So that's the other half of my customers.
When you say guys like you to do the qualifying, what do you mean?
They hire guys like me. Like you could hire a traditional VA in the Philippines, or you hire Lama Su because you want elite qualifiers. And so they hire guys like me, and they're like, hey, listen, dude, I could probably use 50, 60 leads a month in Macon, Georgia. And so we have our price schedule, and then I'll deliver to them 50 to 60 leads a month in Macon, Georgia. They'll lock up 2 or 3 contracts, and they'll either take them down themselves or they'll assign them to another investor and make a spread.
Got it. And are they all beat up homes that you call, or there's some regular homes?
For the most part, they're all beat up because we own all the data and we can target the beat up. And so what we target is really ugly homes, ugly situations, divorce, pre-foreclosure, pre-probate, absentee out of state, owner occupied, 100% equity, built in between 1950 and 1990. And so you can really manipulate the data to call the people who are likely to sell for a discount or likely have a high level of distress in their life.
Yeah, and I'm sure all these people need to purchase right after. And do you hook them up with lenders or?
It's funny. We don't. Once I sell the lead and send it to the investor, I don't do anything with them. And the life cycle of most of these people, I would say, for the most part, is they're retired. And so it's very rarely their primary residence. It's typically a rental a lot of times. And they've just been, some of these tenant laws are so atrocious. So yeah, we don't follow their lead life cycle after. I don't really know what the seller's needs are beyond that.
And is there usually a realtor involved or straight through the investor and the client?
For the most part, it's straight through the investor. Although there's this new exit strategy out there. It's newer. It's got a lot of popularity called novations. And that's where you have these investors essentially doing like a wholesale model through a realtor on the almost like there's another word, a more old school word for it, but where the customer is just guaranteed an exact price, and then anything over that on the MLS the wholesaler gets to keep.
Yeah, so they're kind of broken it through the realtor.
It's crazy. There's more buyers on the MLS, even cash buyers on the MLS. There's a lot of investors out there, doctors, dentists, whoever. They don't have access to sales organizations like this. So when they want to put money into the REI world, they literally just ask their broker to go look on market and find them their first commercial property or their first, multifamily or their first single family. So you get a lot of those retail buyers too.
All right. Well, that was a nice little sideshow. I just want to understand it a little better. I want to get back into sales. Do your people in Colombia speak English, or did you have to teach them English?
Literally number one high in criteria. It's two things you have to be: good human and good English.
How does your training look like for them? Because they're cold calling people that are typically not interested in selling, but they're trying to make them interested in selling. So first off, what does your training look like? You get somebody that's good English and they got good ethics. Well, how do you train them? What does the onboarding look like?
What I'm about to share doesn't exist anywhere else in the REI space on this side of the space. Nobody takes the time or capital to create the monsters that I'm about to share with you. Here, and there's a little side room right there. See those little desks in there? That holds 27 students. That is the Lamasu classroom. Those kids go in there, and for 6 entire weeks, 4 weeks classroom, 2 weeks shadow, they have an opportunity to graduate onto the real floor behind us. So it's a total of 6 weeks. The first 2 weeks are really real estate 101. The next 2 weeks are like sales strategies 101, because I got to take a kid who doesn't know what the word yard sign is. They don't know what a stud and they don't know what a soffit, a faucet, a gutter, a shutter. Like, I have to educate them to be able to have a high level conversation, not sound like a moron on the phone. And then I have to start teaching them the sales strategies that me and you love the most. And so I start with the very basic sales 101. They go through the 2 weeks class. We give them a learning management platform that I've designed myself that I literally could sell in the REI space, but it's a learning management where they can go in there and take tests, and they start to understand about tie downs. They start to understand about power pauses, and they understand that, okay, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So 66% listen, 33% talk. And they really start to understand fundamentals. I'm not doing advanced stuff, but I just need them to understand how to carry a conversation with a desired result at the end of every sentence.
Do you teach them the value of cash and investing so they know how to talk to these people? And like urgency in the world, I feel like right now is a pocket of time where people really need cash, and this is a hot time to be in your business.
It is. Teach them about the sky is falling, and this is a great time to help people understand that, and this is the gospel. And most markets, they could have gotten more from us 6 months ago than they could have gotten today. Not all markets, but with everything's going on, we don't know. It's either going to collapse or boom, and catastrophically. So we try to educate the seller first and then help them. But in regards to what they should do with their capital afterwards, we don't really focus on that except in discovery. Most of the times, again, it's a financial pain point where the house is just deteriorating so bad, or there's a hoarder, or their daughter's a drug addict and she's stuck in the house and they don't have the guts to get him out. And you have so many emotions. Ours is definitely an emotional sale with helping these people for the most part, even though it's a logical transaction such as real estate. And they're doing it all over the phone. That's the craziest part. We're cold calling them for Colombia. I'm sending this lead to Orlando. We're talking to them over the phone. We're doing everything without ever seeing the property. Everything from A to Z. No one sees the property, all DocuSigns. Virtual notary goes out to the house, or a face-to-face notary goes out to the house, or they virtually sign. And then that's it. It's that simple.
Well, I love that you have a process, 4 weeks training, 2 weeks sale. Then you have them shadow, very specific process and onboarding, which is very smart to do, right? Compared to other companies who just throw people in the middle of the floor and they learn differently. That's why a lot of them hire me. I'm not sure if you're informed, but I do the virtual training for them. So I come do custom trainings, record them, build them a portal, so everybody gets onboarded the same exact way with all the tools and resources they need, from scripting on the phone to text, emails, and voicemails. How does the introduction sound like for your people?
So it's pretty simple. Like, there's a couple of fundamentals. First off, we're very blessed with the way we built out our dollar platform that I get to see the name as it comes up. So it's Ace. So we always start whenever Mr. Smith, we're not, and it's always like, hey, Ace.
So you never ask, is this Ace?
No, it's a terrible thing. I'm not asking any no questions throughout our entire presentation.
Thank you. I've been preaching and screaming and pulling hair out when I keep hearing people in all these offices ask, is this Mr. James or Scott?
Yeah.
Well, they say Scott, but they say it with a question mark. You know, Scott?
Yeah. That's what bill collectors do. I'm not a bill collector. I'm a problem solver. So anyways, but just that basic thing and having a good tonality. And, you know, I'm a big believer in motion creates emotion. So I love to see him standing, right? I really don't like to see sitting, but they do, right? It's an 8-hour day. I got it. But anyways, it's like, Scott, and you're like, hey, hey, Scott, I'm calling in regards to, this is how, it's such a soft hook. It's like, I'm calling in regards to the property, and we don't say the number, we say the street. The property on Main Street here in Richmond. Yeah, what about it? And so what we've done is we started out as a friend, and then we've kind of pivoted into like, oh, am I a city worker? Because I know about this property. And so we always get past that initial 7 seconds because it's like, okay, here's my little bit of authority. I know your property. And then we just let them know that we were hired by a group of local investors in the area. See if they'd be interested in receiving an all cash offer on their property. And then you'll get objections and rebuttals, but that's it. It's their name right out of the gates, a good friendly voice, authoritative on the address, and then a brief descriptor on what we're doing just to elicit some response, because how could they say no to us? Our sell is just to offer them a free, no risk, no obligation, all cash offer on the property. How could you say?
Yeah. So what are your top like 3 objections that you guys are getting?
The very number one is, I don't got time for this, not available. I completely understand. If you'll just give me 2 minutes of your time, I promise the information I have for you, you'll find valuable. Because like people, I train them on something called a reactionary defense response. Of course, they're going to tell you they're not interested. Of course, they're going to tell you they're not available. It's the same reason when I go buy sneakers. Every time I go buy sneakers, I'm a sneakerhead, but I still walk in the store and I tell the lady, I'm fine. I need help. I really need help. So we just train them on understanding, like, listen, let them throw up on you. Let it go. But for sure, not interested. And so we just let them know that we're going to provide them value in exchange for their next 2 minutes.
So you get the I'm busy. When they pivot like that, what does the client typically say? How long does the conversation go after that? So let's say I say I'm busy, not right now. You're like, trust me, this is worth your time. It only take a couple of minutes. What do you pivot to next?
So they're always like, hey, well, what's the offer? Well, in order for me to formulate an offer, I just need to ask you some basic details about the condition of the property. And then anytime a customer, we train kind of similar to the Belfort method, which is like this straight line, but I added surfing in. So it's like, sometimes you got to surf a little bit and you just come right back into the script. So when somebody says something along those lines, we're just right back into the script. And then we're asking them about the property. And so we'll kind of verify from a position of authority. I see here in the notes that 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Does that sound about right? Always an inquisitive tone. And then we'll start going through some of the property. And then we'll ask them a hook question or an alternative choice where we'll say, okay, and how would you describe the properties in need of heavy repairs or moderate repairs? Because I want to give them that alternative choice that there's some level of repairs that's needed. Then after we go through that alternative choice, we're still now trying to build discovery and bring down sales resistance. And so I'm a big believer in quality questions lead to quality conversations to quality leads. And so we have a lot of training on just discovery on how to actively listen to ask the best questions.
I love that. I always say what you do in between qualifiers is what creates a relationship.
Yes.
The additional questions.
And so then we just go through the process. And, the hardest part about this game, and I'll give out free game, is what we're able to do that, first off, keeping a stranger on the phone 14 to 17 minutes is like God tier. I know that. I don't care what industry you're in. 14 to 17 minute qualifying call is good. It's fair. But we can get a price out of every single seller, brother. There's not a single seller that we can't overcome the objection of, you called me first. You tell me what you're going to offer me. And so we can overcome that objection. Yeah. A lot of it's done in the discovery phase, right? Because we've loaded our gun with bullets. We're ready to ask that question. We've created value. We've isolated the difference between our features and what it will be the benefits for them. But when they give us that, we make them an expert. We say, no, I completely understand. I just figure since you're both the expert in your property and your neighborhood, you'd at least kind of have a ballpark bottom line price. And then we have another rebuttal. And then if that doesn't work, we just anchor them, which is like, oh, I completely understand. Well, let me just share with you what our investors that can purchase homes kind of similar to yours are currently buying properties. And then we'll anchor them at like 40 to 70% of ARV. And then, of course, the customers, I would never sell it for that price. I would need at least 120. And then, boom, you've done it good enough. Now I have a price. Now I can look at it on the scale and decide what affiliate gets it, et cetera, et cetera. So
I love that. Did you ever, I don't know the legalities behind this, but it seems like you're doing such a good job. You're speaking my language. Did you ever think about having your guys close the deal for the investor and give it to them done in a package, or is that not legal?
Well, it's definitely legal. There's no legality issue.
Yeah, they're just figuring out the bottom price. So instead of you giving it to an investor to pitch, you're like, here's the deal, here's the price, here's what's going on with the house, and then you could have people bid on it.
You raise a great point. Me and you would probably be a great 1-2 punch somewhere on some industry. But these investors should never lock it up at the price that I get it at. And when I see them get it at the price that I get it at, I want to smack them. Be like, well, what the do we need you guys for? I could have just locked it up over here because I only had 14 to 15 minutes. I didn't talk about how great the investor's company was. I didn't talk about the macroeconomics or microeconomics of the local real estate market. I didn't really talk about their daughter's cancer and the reason why they need this money to afford. Like, all I did was just get them on second base. They still got to go to third base and damn it, get across the home plate. So there really is a separate whole sales cycle. And some of my customers do prefer face-to-face, or some of the sellers. So like we have local investors that'll go face-to-face. So there is a difference between a fronter and a closer. I have two closers here that also support our Orlando office. But the reality is it's two separate business models, man. It's like, let my qualifiers qualify, let my...
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I just think it's an opportunity for you because these investors, the number one thing you could really sell anybody is time, because time is money. And I'm sure these investors would love to save the time, especially if you build your closer side and then you're doing the whole deal. You're getting all the information the investor wants. You're training your closers on how to brand the investors. They're doing it as if they're working for the investors, and they get it all done in a package. If I was an investor, I would take your closer package over your transfer package.
You're right. There's a big need for the closers. I'm going to be very humble and transparent. Dude, it's a struggle getting people from customer service to qualifying. It's also a bigger leap because most of these guys have customer service background, which means they have no phone confidence. It means that every phone job that they've ever had, they had to say, yes, sir. Okay. I'm so sorry, sir. Okay. And so they have this deflated mentality almost that we have to fix. I have struggled consistently to get them up to that closer status. It's just time. It's time and awareness, time and resources for sure. But I have my closers in Orlando, so I kind of use that as...
I love it. Well, we're definitely going to be in touch about some more business together. How do you leverage text and email? Do you leverage it or no?
Yeah, so two different places. At texting, we used to do mass texting. It's hitting. I've had to like pivot it. It's a great thing. I now currently only use text and email for my converted leads, not for my cold outreach, but it is such an integral, vital part of our business to take somebody who's raised their hand and nurture to them. If I were going to give free game on texting, I would say the following is that I think most sales organizations are really good, Ace, at getting people to send out like drip sequencing via text on no contact leads. But where they really fail is to go FU leads. People said, well, I would never, and I'm not interested anymore, and I want retail. The money in your drip sequencing, that's so much money over there because it's only time and circumstance. So I want to make sure my text is hitting the people who told me I would never. And so at least in the REI space on the investor side, they're really good at no contact drip sequencing, but they don't even think about the people who told them no, because they'll tell you yes, just something's got to change.
Yeah, I build funnels for all those categories plus some.
Nice.
And I think that there's companies that do 30% of their business from those drip campaigns. So I definitely agree with you there. Well, look, man, thanks for your time. Before I let you go here, the show's called Shotcast. I want to get your 3 top tips for cold callers out there, because I got a lot of them in my academy. They're going to listen to this. What are your 3 top tips for cold callers? Go.
Yeah, very first one is listen to your recordings. Don't be a schmuck. If you want to be a professional like any other professional that's out there, there's not a single NBA, NFL, MLB player that's not watching their tape back. Not a single one out there. And if you don't have the balls to go back and listen to your own recordings to find out how you can improve, then you really shouldn't. You should just go work somewhere else in stock in a grocery store. So number 1, listen to your recordings. Number 2, make sure, as we said earlier, is you have that mindset to start your day that you're going to get that desired outcome. And you're not going to do that. That actually starts the moment that you get out of bed. So if you're hitting the snooze bar on your day, you're going to be hitting the snooze bar on that rebuttal. So let's get rid of that. And the third thing is never stop educating as a cold caller. Today in the information age out there with guys like him out here that you can listen to and follow and pick up on the nuggets, just find the things that fit you in your heart, execute on them. But there's always growing, making sure that you have that right mindset before you ever pick up that phone. And then obviously listening to your calls, especially the ugly ones. It's easy to listen to the ones you did good on. Listen to the ones where they clicked you, where they told you no. Those 30 seconds, that 45 seconds where you thought you had something and it disappeared. That's where the goal is at.
Scott, man, if I didn't with you before, I definitely with you right now, man. You are the real deal, Holyfield. Make sure you text me. I need to lock your number in. We need to talk some heavy business this weekend. I got some crazy stuff going on today, but this weekend, let's talk. Is that guy behind you ready before we end the show?
Yes, he's ready.
All right, bring him in.
All right.
What's going on, my boy?
Hey, get in.
What's your name?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Eric.
Eric.
What's your name?
Eric. My name's Alex. Yeah, my name's Alex. Pretend you're calling me to close me down on what you do, and I'm gonna throw some objections your way. I want to see how you handle them. All right, hello.
Hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yeah, who is this?
Hi, my name is Eric. Giving you a call in regards to the property in Mainford here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, how could I help you?
Yeah, the reason why I'm giving you a call is because my company want to ask if you'll be open to receive a cash offer on this property.
Oh no, man, I don't want to sell this house, man. I'm good.
Okay, you don't want to sell this property. So which property you want to sell?
No, I don't want to sell any properties, man. I'm good right now. I'm gonna sit on it. The value is gonna keep going up.
Well, actually, market is trading a lot right now. Market is going down right now. So I understand your point. You have probably cash flow on those properties, but it would be better if you receive an offer right now. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. So
And what would you offer me for this house, Eric?
Okay, let me just confirm quickly. I can see we're talking about the property 123 Main Street. That one is 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and around 1,300 square feet, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I can also see this property has no garage and no swimming pool, correct?
Yeah.
Great. Now, when it comes to the general condition of this property, how would you describe it, guys? So when it comes to the general condition of this property, how would you describe it? Like,
It's good, man, but I'm busy. How long is this gonna take? You haven't given me an offer yet.
Well, actually, I'm about to finish. I just need to confirm this basic information to give you an accurate offer. So let me just confirm quickly. You live on this property, you have tenants there.
I got tenants there.
Awesome. And those tenants are in a month-to-month, or would it be a yearly lease?
Yearly list.
Awesome. Now, when does the lease expire?
In June.
June. Okay. And how much is the rent?
About 1,600.
1,600. Okay. And have you increased the rent in the last year?
Yes, $100.
Okay. Let me put that here. Now, when it comes to the AC unit, when was the last time you replaced it?
5-10 years.
5.
Let's say you get past all of this. What do you do after all the qualifying?
Okay, so now I do understand this is your rental property. Definitely have a cash flow there. But other than the money, like putting the money aside, what would be your main motivation to sell this property, Alex?
If I could get a better property.
Okay, where would you like to invest?
Somewhere nice that I could Airbnb. Nice vacation spot.
Okay, sounds good. And if we can come up with an offer that actually makes sense to you, how soon would it take to you to close on this property, Alex?
Depends on the offer. What are you offering me?
So if the offer is good enough, would you be open to close between 1 up to 2 months?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the best email so we can send information about our company and this offer?
All right, beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
Good job, man.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No
I was
problem.
nervous.
Thank you. No worries, man.
We made this day.
All right, Playboy.
You did a good job, man. Thanks so much for your time, man. Keep up the great work. We'll talk soon,
man. I'll shoot you a text, brother. Be easy.
You got it, brother. Thank you.
All right, talk to you, man. Peace.
All right, bye. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying it. If you'd like to see a bunch more content exclusively for you, sales, leadership, mindset, business, growth, click right down here below and hit subscribe for me. Every single week, you're going to get exclusive content delivered to you first. We also have a link in the bio with all of our products and coaching. We'd love to help you 10x your business and 10x your sales. Thank you for being a part of the community. We appreciate you.